What's up, y'all? Welcome to this short little video to support a blog that I just posted on LinkedIn about how you can leverage Microsoft Forms, SharePoint, and the new connectors for Microsoft Teams within Power Automate to set up an approval flow to get the requests in for new teams, get them approved, and then automatically create and deploy the new team based on the team name and description that was requested by the requestor. Now, the reason why you want to use this is when you look at the governance that is set up in some companies, not everybody allows everybody in the company to create their own teams. And this form is going to automate the whole thing for you as an IT admin or any admin within the company. So this is how you start. You start with creating a new form. This is pretty straightforward. So go to forms.microsoft.com, create a new form, give it a name, and then make sure you get some of the essential information. So first name, last name, email address. And you might be thinking, can I just pull this all from the Azure AD or from the user profile? You can, but you have to make sure that the person is actually logged into their account. So the route that I took is better safe than sorry. I'm going to ask for this because I'm going to need it later when I'm creating the team site. Then obviously the team's name that the requester wants to have, and the description of the new to be created team in Teams. And then also what you like to know is the reason for the request, so you know what you approve and why you're approving it. Now, the next thing you want to do is create a list in SharePoint. Again, this is pretty straightforward. You go to the SharePoint site, you select new, you select list, and you get the option to create these lists. Now, this is an example of something that I have filled out earlier. But it gives you an idea of what I'm doing here. All the different columns are the different names from the form that we just filled out. So it's first name, last name, email address, team's name, the description, justification, the reason why, and then the status. Status wasn't in the form, so this is something that you have to add manually. And the way that I've set this up is you click add column, you always click the single line of text, you say status. And what I did is the default value, I put pending approval, so that I know if I look at the list, these approvals are still pending. And once you've done that, you'll get something like this. This already says approved because it was already approved when I did the first setup. Now, this is where the real magic happens. So once we are in Power Automate and you go to create, let me start fresh here. You click on the automated flow. You give your flow a name, and you go with the first one, which is when a new response is submitted. So whenever there's a new response submitted, based on the form that we have selected, the flow will actually start working automatically. So we've done that here. The form ID is the one that we've just created, the new team site request form. And the next step you want to take is get response details. All you have to do is click the little plus sign, look for forms, and you'll find the get response details. You get the form ID. Again, this is pre-populated, and the response ID you have to fill out here as well. And the way that you do this is you click on the field right here. You get the dynamic content pop-out window, and you select response ID. Next thing you want to do is pull some information from the Azure AD. So you're going to get some user information. Again, you click on the plus sign, you search for Azure AD, and then you select Get User. This is where you're going to need the email address. And what this does, it pulls all the information from your Azure AD and gets all that information from that user. You can use this later when you've created the teams. You can make the person that has requested the team set to be created and make them the owner of the new team site. The next thing you want to do is you want to pull all that information that you got from that form and post it on the lists on SharePoint that I just showed you. So again, you click on the plus sign, you search for SharePoint, you do create an item, you select the site address. This is all pre-populated. The list name pre-populated as well. And then you match these fields with the dynamic content again by clicking on it and looking at the little pop-out window with the dynamic content, and you just fill this out. This last one is also pre-populated as well, so you don't have to do anything here. Now, this is where the magic happens. What you're going to do now is you're going to start the approval process. Again, you click on the little plus sign here, and you go for start and wait for an approval, which is one of the options. For the approval type, I went with the first to respond. So let's say you have a couple of admins in here that need to approve something and it's only one of them that has to do it, whenever the first one has responded, the flow moves on. Maybe you have multiple admins or multiple approvers that need to approve this stuff. You can either select the first one or some of the others. Now a title, I'll put in a standard title here, so it's new Teams creation form. Who the approver is. In my case, I use the admin account of the of this tenant that I'm working in, and then the details. And this is either Markdown or just plain text. I use plain text. You can use Markdown as well. No HTML, by the way. And I started typing. A new team site has been requested by one of our users. The details are as follows: full name, and this is where you use the dynamic content pop-up again to get that information from that form. And you'll see full name of the requester, requested team's name, team's description, and the reason. And this is all the stuff that you pulled from that form. Because you already made the connection with SharePoint, you could also add a link to it and say, hey, if you click on this link, you'll see the full item. Now the last step, and that's when you're almost done, is you add the condition saying if yes or if no. So if the approval process is indeed approved, the request is approved, you wanted to do something, and if it's declined, then you want to say something else and decline the request. So the way you set this up is if you go into this button, you select outcome, which is the one up here, is equal to, and make sure this says approve, and it has to say approve the way that it's written right here, or else it will not work. If no, so let's say somebody declines, and I've made this really basic, you can add extra email flows to this if you want to. Again, if no, you want to write back to the SharePoint site saying, hey, on this address, on this list, with this idea, I want to reject the request that was made. Now this on the left side is where the magic happens. So if we go to update the item, it's the same thing as on the right side. And instead of rejected, it's going to be approved. And then what you want to do is click that plus sign, search for teams, and search for create a team. Here you have the team name. Again, this is pulled from the form. The description pulled from the form as well, and then add a member to the team. Now what you want to do is the idea for the team, as it hasn't been created yet, you can find one of the pieces in the dynamic content, which is called new team idea, which is the idea of the team that will be created in a second. And this is where you need, on the last part, this is where you need to get that user information, because it's asking for a user idea that wants to be that has to be the new owner of the team, and that's the last option that you can say here. So now what you basically do is you click save, and you're done, and you're ready to go test. So let's go check this thing out. First name, here we go. First name, I'm still Alex. I'm Wilbur. This is my email address. The name of the request is YouTube tutorials, because I all YouTube tutorial info in one place, and the reason because I want to demo it. Now here you click submit, and what will happen next if we go to the inbox of the admin right here? It'll take a couple of minutes, so don't be impatient. This does take a couple of minutes. Soon we'll see something pop up here, which is a new email for that. So here it is. We just got the email. I'm on the online version of Outlook. It's saying, hey, new request form, a new team site has been requested by one of our users. Here's the details, the name, Alex, requested team's name, YouTube tutorials, all the stuff that we filled out. Now what we do, and we might want to take one step back before we approve this one and go into our SharePoint, because what we see here is the new one, and you can see that it's still pending approval. So let's approve this one. Let's go back to the admin. We're gonna say approve. You're gonna see all of the approvals, and you can approve them. We're gonna approve. Awesome. We're gonna confirm as well. And now the approval is done. We'll switch back to the SharePoint. And if we refresh here, we'll see that this last one has been officially approved. Now let's go into Teams to see if this has really worked. So we're going into Teams now. You'll see that the new YouTube tutorials team has been created. If you click on the three little dots and you go to manage team, you can also see that Alex Wilbur, who was the requester of the new team site, has been named the new owner, and they can start working on it. So this is the basic flow. I'll make sure that I'll link the blog in the description if you want to have some time and look at it. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.